Hey everybody, welcome back. We are finishing up watching information about the Cecil Hotel. This episode is not actually on the docu-series from Netflix, but from the YouTube channel Unsolved No More. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Correct. And this is, and so in the description it says, a girl goes missing without leaving the hotel. She is found 18 days later in the hotel's water tank. Murder, suicide, accident. World-renowned detective and cold case expert Ken Maines will tell you why victimology is always important in investigations, and in particular in this case. So I'm curious as to what his take is going to be on it. To be up front, I'm an acquaintance of him. I don't know if he remembers me, but we went to high school together. He probably remembers at least my name because there weren't too many of us up there at the time. But he has made a living at cold cases. I'm excited for him about that, in that this has been his expertise. I'm not excited about the topic itself. It's very traumatic for the people left behind to have unsolved cases, which I think is part of his passion on why he does it, is to help bring closure to everyone. But he's done some interesting things. He did a series on, I think it was the History Channel. I think it was the History Channel, Hunt for the Zodiac Killer. He was part of that, and I watched that, and it was exciting. There's supposed to be a season 2 to it. I haven't looked to see if it's come out yet or not, so I'll have to check and see. But I will put the link for his video down below, as well as his channel name as a whole. If you want to check out the other things. I saw he has the Sons of Sam episode 1. And so I will probably watch that after I finish the Sons of Sam that's on Netflix, because I plan on doing that at some point. So at any rate, full disclosure, I know him, went to high school with him. I do like the fact that he's getting to do a passion of his. So on that note, let's take a look and see what he says about the episode.
I believe the Netflix series drew things out, obviously, to make it a show
I agree with
as we
that.
go forward. But there's thousands more that are guilty and proclaim their innocence. And that's what you have to be careful of. That's the trap that I didn't want to
Agreed.
fall into. And still, I was a great fan of his because he had done a great film called My Brother's Keeper.
I can't remember
I
if I've
forget
seen
the
My
name
Brother's
of it,
Keeper or not.
but could you really rule out any of them right away? I don't think so. Maybe natural death you could rule out right away, but you don't know.
And to go off of what he's saying, in my last video, the last episode, I talked about how the show seemed to portray it from the web sleuth's point of view, kind of wanting us to go along that thinking that there's definitely something faulty and wrong and that kind of thing. And they didn't present some of the facts to us until later, after we're in that mindset. So what he's saying with narrowing it down, and these are your 4 options, and the way they presented it was pretty good. It did seem like there was foul play. Yeah, initially, it's going to seem that way until you get the evidence collected, and it's going to take time to review all that video footage. It's going to take time to read through all of her blogs. It's going to take time to recreate the different scenarios, to analyze the elevator footage. I'm sure they were looking for reflections in the elevator and all that kind of stuff. So he's kind of starting to get to what I forgot to comment on in that last episode, which is it takes time to get the evidence collected. And so as the detectives and investigators and forensics and all that are working together, gathering all the information, they're going to be sharing the information that they get, which might be in patches. And of course, some things take time. The coroner's report takes time. I've known them to take up to 6 months sometimes in situations that I'm involved in. They weren't cases for me, but I was having to wait to file reports until I had the coroner's report on stuff. So sometimes it takes time. and unfortunately. So let's see what he's actually going to say.
Not by the door. Her family says she takes them off by the door every night, but they're in the bathroom. Something's wrong.
I missed that.
You're going to drive yourself crazy. You're never going to figure it out, okay? Because you have to know, okay, did she have some sort of.
And I agree. And I assumed the police were talking with the family. And so that's why I'm saying some of the evidence wasn't given to us, the viewer of the show, right away in the order that they found stuff out. But I had another thought. I was starting to go somewhere else and I can't remember where I was going to go. Oh, but he's saying talk to the family. Yes, law enforcement talk to the family, not every Joe Schmo. Please do not start harassing families of people that you're trying to solve things for. Allow that to be to the experts because they may have already talked to the family and have information that you don't have. Like he was talking about before, or the Ken hasn't said it in the last episode of the series. The people, the public doesn't always have all the facts. So please don't harass families about information about somebody, a situation that's going on. That's just going to cause more trauma for the families.
I am sure that the detectives, investigators did that. I know they did,
We're
okay?
on the same page.
But for TV purposes, just because she had a history of hiding from people, imaginary people, doesn't mean she wasn't murdered, right? So
Agreed.
you have to follow all that through. I mean, people really need to slow their roll, okay?
Agreed.
Web sleuths, in my opinion, are a great attribute to investigators if done properly.
And to emphasize that one, is that statement, just take a look at the documentary Don't Fuck with Cats. The web sleuths were the web sleuths that isolated themselves from the main public, that formed their own group. They were a great asset to law enforcement. So, yeah,
Rumors that as an investigator you have to sift through.
and get
And
rid of them.
it is
Rule them in or
simple
rule them
now.
out.
Who knows what they're going to see that past investigators did not see?
As long as you
Um,
approach it sensitively so
but
that
web
reliving it is not as
can be,
traumatizing.
they put in, what was it? The address of
Oh, the bookstore,
the web address
the
of the
last
Cecil
bookstore.
Hotel.
It showed up as a cemetery in Vancouver or British Columbia. Yeah.
Elisa and John Benet Ramsey case. Okay, everyone wants to look at the headstone
I haven't looked at
and
that
say
case yet.
you have to get the source. And that's what's so dangerous.
Well, in defense, kind of defense, I agree with Kenny that the show was dragging it out. I even commented about how long the takes were in between the interviews and everything. They were really dragging things out a lot, but they did show the video of the I don't know if he was a chief or captain or what, giving the press conference and him saying that the latch was closed, the lid was on the tank closed. But the officer in that last episode said it was just miscommunication, leaving out the fact that, yeah, when the cops got up there, the lid was closed. However, that was because the maintenance man, Santiago, is that what they said his name was? Had put the lid back on before he called law enforcement. Like I said, he probably did that out of habit because we just get in the habit of doing certain things. And if he works the tanks, he's probably got his routine. And so I don't fault the maintenance guy for that. But the show left that for the very end when the law enforcement had that information earlier on. So that's what I was saying in that the show is felt like it was trying to give us from the point of view of the web sleuths. I commented about Tiger King. Clearly wanted us to have the perspective from Joe. and they made Carol the villain, the enemy. I have followed Big Cat Rescue for a long time. She admits the mistakes that she made. There is no evidence that she killed her husband. I'll have to see if he's looked into that or not. I haven't looked to see if he's investigated any of that or not. But that's a cold case, her husband. But people were automatically villainizing her without the facts, and it was because of the way the show presented information. I felt like there was no way that Joe's Zoo, or yeah, they called it a zoo. I was trying to think of the proper name, or spiritual dude, Doc. I've already repressed him from my mind. Both of them actually had both of their facilities accredited. I was trying to think of the proper term. But when I was doing the research on the show, because I was going to do a deep dive into what they presented and what the facts actually were, when you looked into things, they were accredited at some point, but then neither one of them were accredited at that time. Whereas Carol's sanctuary, which sanctuaries are different from zoos, was accredited, current active accreditation, and it's always done well. Um, from what year was it? I want to say 2012 or 2013, but I don't know if I'm saying that because that was some of the dates in this show. But at any rate, when you look into things, you got to go with the facts. You can question things, you can look into it a little bit further, but don't go in with this blind faith, I think is the best way to put it. So I went off on a tangent. I forget what he was talking about.
Okay, that they have to be interviewed, of course. But what does the police report say? That's what you have to go off of.
And sometimes he can
Advice
get
from
copies and sometimes he
Webster's
can't.
out. I'll go back to this morbid character saying, calling him a murderer. I
Or
had a
threatening to
comment in the
kill him.
comment. You can't say that because you don't know. You can say it's my opinion. Anyway, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Uh, anyhow,
He goes on rants
these
like I do.
conspiracy and that's common sense. That's intelligence.
Common sense
These
is
people who just when
fading
there's not
away.
enough, and you're going to notice it right now. He writes, "Why is your one ear bigger than the other?"
He's a football
Because
player.
well, why does
Oh.
your face look like it got hit with a bag of nickels? But I did.
And I said he's a football player, not saying that he got injured and so therefore, but I know in wrestling they can get cauliflower ear, which sometimes changes things. But yeah, people nitpick about things all the time. My sister, which side? I think it's this side. I have it's not a freckle, but a darker skinned area that has been growing through the years. My doctor's not concerned about it, but my mom just had some precancerous tissue removed from her cheek and went through that process. So, of course, my family is hyper alert about that kind of stuff. So, they pointed that out pretty quickly. But I'm a bit self conscious about it because this I haven't always had. People get onto me about my weight. People doing YouTube reactions. People get onto me all the time about stupid stuff. They when my music reactions, they tell me to put headphones on. Got them in. You don't have to have those big ones that cover your head. In fact, I had those and they were hurting my ears. So it's not enjoyable if it hurts. These work. I'm using these. I hear all the undertones and everything. I went through the phone and did the sound test and everything so that it adjusts to the sound for me. So these work. But people still think they can call you out about that. I express my opinion on the reactions. That's what the whole point of reactions is about. And yet I get told that I know nothing and this and that and the other thing, mainly on the music reactions. Um, but the whole point is, what did I think of it? And I express it. This is my opinion. I didn't care for this part. I like this part, that kind of stuff. To each their own. As I said about morbid, I I don't understand his art. It's not my kind of thing. I would never, I don't get it. But that doesn't mean I have a right to bully him. That just means I won't be listening to him. Of course, he hasn't been doing it since he got bullied, but you know, these keyboard warriors are just atrocious, atrocious. And I think I just went off on another rant. So let's get back to Kenny.
Now, the repercussions for me when people leave me rude comments, I delete them. And I hit delete. Nobody ever sees it but me. So I get the.
Some I delete, but some I leave so that other people can see what an idiot the person is. I think they make a fool of themselves sometimes. So it just depends on my mood when I receive it. Sometimes I delete it, sometimes I don't. And if I delete it, I block them because if they're going to talk that way, there's no point in letting them see anything else.
The lid was open when the first person that found the body was there.
That was an important fact
Um,
the show left out.
when I first look at a case, when I read the police reports, I read them all the way through.
And the police report is the
Okay,
order in
just to
which
make
they
it
found
simple.
the information.
Sure, you sit there as an armchair detective and you say, "Well, I would have searched it." Things get missed. It's
I forget if the
unfortunate.
dogs took them up to the roof.
You don't have to believe me. This is what I think happened, and these are the reasons why.
And I'll say, when I watched the first season of Hunt for the Zodiac Killer, there was one question I had in my head of the information that was presented. And so I wrote to him, I think on his website, it might have been on Facebook. And I said, um, I can't remember if this was addressed in the show or not, but was this person ever interviewed and talked to and blah, blah, blah. And he responded back, yes. And talked about that there was more information in season two. So that's why I said I need to look and see if it's come out where I can access it yet, because I don't get the History Channel on my TV. So, but at any rate, yeah.
Subscribe to it, I guess. That's what the kids say, right? It's like and subscribe. I don't know what that shit really is. I just make these videos because people tell me it's good, but then I got off social media because, again, there's cyberbullying and you can't really
Don't
respond
blame
the
you.
way.
I chuckled at the one spot because we're Generation X, and so some of the Generation X folks, went very smoothly with the technology and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of feel like he does, like, whatever you're supposed to do. If you notice, if you watch my enough of my episode or videos that I put up, they're not really episodes. I don't ever say like, subscribe, all that crap, because you hear it in every video. You guys know what to do if you want to do it, you know? So that's why I chuckled about whatever it is when he said that. So, but that's my acquaintance. Like I said, I don't know if you'd consider us friends. We were in high school together. You can check him out. He's very real, upfront. So far, of everything I've watched of his, we seem to have similar line of thinking about things. So I really appreciate Kenny and what he does and that sort of thing. So hopefully you check him out too. I think I responded to everything in that last part about, we have similar line of thinking. He just proved that in his analysis of what he saw from the show as well. And so if you watched all of my reactions to the show, you will see I had a similar line of thinking that he did. So at any rate, thank you all for joining me on this one. I will see you on the next one. Bye.